Hey, what's up, everyone? So let me ask you something. How does a 22 XRP sound? Pretty amazing, right? Well, listen to this. The chart analysts I personally follow, these guys have been absolutely nailing all the biggest price moves for XRP. I mean, almost without fail. Every single one of them called that massive price burst last year. And sure enough, it went down in November, right after the election, which, if you remember, I was talking about for weeks, saying it just made sense. And get this, they didn't just call for a pop, they predicted a brand new all-time high for XRP, and bam, it happened in January 2025. But hold on, it gets better. They all said that new high of around $3.35 in January wouldn't be the final peak. And they were right again. We saw another one this past July hitting $3.65. Okay, so what's happening now? Because let's be real, the market is dripping with fear all over again. All you hear is, we're in a bubble. Everyone's freaking out, yelling, we're entering a bear market. Oh no, that's literally all you see plastered across social media and the crypto news right now. Just scroll through your feed. It's an absolute flood of bearish posts. That's pretty much all you're going to find out there. Honestly, right now, the most unpopular contrarian thing you can be is a bull. So, with all this doom and gloom floating around, are we supposed to believe the top is in for XRP? Is that it? Ha! Let me just drop this bomb for you right at the top of the video. Those chart analysts I trust, the ones with the seriously impressive track records, every single one of them is holding strong on their massive price predictions for XRP, specifically for this market cycle. So if you walked up to them and asked, hey, are we going to see XRP hit double digits like really soon? You know what they'd say? A resounding yes. Okay, but hold up. Before we go any further, I have to be super clear about this. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. All right? Cool. Now, almost everything we're about to get into is an XRP exclusive deep dive. So check this out. I'm putting an article on the screen. It's from February of last year, but honestly, the age is totally irrelevant because the concept is more powerful today than ever. The title is Missing Bitcoin's Top 10 Days a Year Could Cost You All Annual Gains Fund Start. And let me be real with you, even though this is talking about Bitcoin, the exact same principle is a perfect match for XRP. You absolutely have to get this. This is precisely why listening to those perma bears, the guys who are always negative, who time and time again are proven so wrong, is a terrible idea. If you let them, they'll spook you into selling your positions. What you're looking at right now is the proof of why that's so damaging. They're getting in your head, making you think bearishly when the hard data, the vast majority of the time, shows you should be bullish. All right, team, let's have a little heart-to-heart. People talk about crypto like it's this mysterious, untamed beast, but look, it's been on the scene for over 16 years. We have the receipts now, and the data is crystal clear. Crypto moves hand in hand with the stock market. That's the whole ball game right there, and there's nothing on the horizon that suggests this is going to change. So what I'm about to drop is pure gold for the entire crypto space, and yes, that includes my XRP people. Listen closely. So Bitcoin is notoriously unpredictable, and trying to time it is a fool's game. You've got your different playbooks like dollar cost averaging or lump sum investing, and they all have their moments. But some fresh research from Fundstrat, which the CEO of Bitwise, Hunter Horsley, put on blast, just uncovered a mind-blowing pattern. Are you ready for this? Missing the 10 best performing days for Bitcoin each year literally erases your entire profit for that year. Let that sink in. What that means is if your money isn't in the game, we're zeroing in on Bitcoin here. For those 10 specific days, you end up in the red. 10 days out of a whole 365. This is my go-to question. Are you a wizard? Do you have a magic 8-ball that tells you which 10 days are the days? Seriously, how sure are you? Because If you miss just one of them or two or three, well, you just watched a mountain of money turn into a molehill. So what if I told you the smartest thing to do was literally nothing at all? I know, it sounds crazy. My entire investment playbook is so simple, it's almost embarrassing. But here's the thing. It's the same blueprint that's been printing money in the stock market for 100 years, and it's the exact same one that's been winning in crypto for the 16 years it has existed. It just works. You ready for the secret sauce? You buy, and then you go live your life. That's it. And because it's that ridiculously simple, I have no crypto course to sell you. I wish I did. I'd sell you a one-slide PowerPoint that just says, buy and hold. There it is. $100, please. Pay me in cash, credit, or XRP. Nah, just kidding. I couldn't take your XRP even if you offered. My conscience wouldn't let me. But seriously, I don't have anything to sell you, not a single thing. And that's the raw truth most people on YouTube won't give you because it doesn't make them money. I'm telling you this as someone who's been deep in crypto, holding XRP for what'll be 8 years next month. 8 years, and I've never sold a single XRP, not one. I'm living proof that this ridiculously simple method, it freaking works. It just does. All you need is to be in the game. And just wait, because this is where it gets scary. For anyone out there who thinks they're a trading genius, who starts getting cute with their portfolio, thinking they can time the market, thinking they know better than everyone else, you think you're going to catch the lightning and dodge the rain, right? You won't miss those 10 days? Oh boy. Let me show you how badly that can go. And if you try to outsmart the market, just know this. The pattern has been calling the shots since 2013. Let's take 2021, a full-blown bull run. The top 10 days, just 10 days. We're a rocket ship that blasted off with a 179% return. The other 355 days, a sinking ship plunging you down 43%. So let me spell it out for you folks. Not only do you miss the party if you're not there for those 10 days, you actually end the year with a loss. Every single time. Is the picture getting clearer? Like the moves that make millionaires, and this is gospel for XRP too, they happen in a flash of lightning on basically 0% of the calendar days. You're either standing in that field when it strikes or you're not. That's the choice you have to make. And here's the ultimate plot twist. In a nasty bear market year like 2019, the best 10 days still ripped an unbelievable 217% profit, while the rest of the year was a dumpster fire, down 39%. These are the mind-bending figures from Fundstrat. So when that little voice of panic starts whispering, we're heading into a bear market, you have to ask yourself, are you sure you know what's coming? Are you positive you want to be on the sidelines for a potential 200% rip? Look, you're the CEO of your portfolio, you make the calls. I'm just shining a spotlight on the data. But let's switch gears and talk XRP for a minute, because the people I listen to, they have nerves of steel. They are not shaking even after the carnage on Friday. And you know what I'm talking about. The history books will call it the Great Liquidation. $20 billion wiped out, and that number might still be climbing. I mean, it's completely insane. But I'm telling you, despite the media trying to scare the living daylights out of everyone since then, the XRP analysts I follow are not just whispering, they're shouting that this thing's going way higher. You have got to hear this. So I was scrolling through X and saw a post from the chart analyst Hubwaves, and he basically nailed the latest XRP move. He dropped this little gem. XRP got the move down into our support level for the expanded flat we were following. He had a whole detailed thread on it, but you know how it is. We'd be here all day if we unpacked all of that. Go check out his page if you want to dive into the nitty gritty. Anyway, he followed up with this, which I thought was pretty cool. He said, I said it'll happen pretty soon, but I didn't expect it to play like that. Nice 50+% bounce off our support level. Regardless of how things unfolded last week, the plan is still the same. $5.50-ish is our first target on the way to our macro target. And if you look at his charts, his big macro target is sitting around $8.50. Now, who knows if he thinks that's the final cycle high, but wow, that has to be one of the most cautious XRP targets I've seen from any of the big analysts. Seriously, I think it's the most conservative one I've come across. It's actually super hard to find a reputable analyst who would call for an XRP peak that low. Hey, maybe he's the one who's right, and if so, major credit to him. I'm just saying, that's a rare take. And here's something I've learned from being in this space for a long time. You're always going to find the wild extremes, the super lowball predictions, and the moonshot predictions. But the funny thing is, those extremes are almost never right. The real story usually plays out somewhere in the middle. All right, let's switch gears and check out this post from Crypto Insight UK. This one really got me thinking. He kicks things off by saying, I've given you my case as to why I think XRP is next leg takes us out to $8 to $12. This is the area I've said I'll deleverage heavily. Then he points out something really cool about the charts. He says, isn't it funny looking at this recent liquidation event and throwing a fib on there to see where the price would take us? Take us to if we see a 4.236 extension now. And you know what? Yes, it actually is pretty funny. Now, keep in mind, he's showing two different charts. The first one you're seeing is from Coinbase, and the next is from Binance. So if you're wondering why the price expectations from his fib levels are a bit different, it's because you get slightly different price action on every exchange. Think about it. At any given second, you won't find the exact same price for XRP on every single platform. It's always going to vary a little. During moments of crazy volatility, that difference can actually be pretty big for a short time. That's because each individual exchange is basically its own little self-contained ecosystem. Now, obviously, traders on one platform are definitely paying close attention to what's happening on the others, but they're still separate pools of activity. And just so we're on the same page, when I say platforms, I'm talking about exchanges. So you've got traders on one exchange constantly side-eyeing the prices on all the others. If a big enough price gap opens up, it creates an arbitrage opportunity, and that mad dash to cash in is what pulls the price back in line across the globe. So, in a nutshell, that's the game. And that is precisely why you're seeing these different numbers, especially when you're looking at the fallout from a wild liquidation event. Now, if you pull up the Coinbase chart and you throw that fib tool on there, that bad boy is pointing directly at $9.78. Okay, cool. But what about Binance? You hop over there, lay down the exact same fib, and where does it land? $13.15. So boom, that's landing squarely in the zone that Crypto Insight UK has been talking about. And by the way, I totally get his strategy about deleveraging there, but he's also been really clear in other posts that he sees a high probability of XRP actually peaking somewhere between $20 and $30 this cycle. He just didn't get into that here. This was all about the next major leg up. And honestly, history totally backs this kind of thinking up. That second major push in a rally, the one that really just melts faces, is always way more explosive than the first one. We got that first taste back in November, and now we're just waiting for that second monster wave to hit. Okay, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. In past cycles, we have not had to wait this long for that second massive leg up. And I know you might be thinking, should we be concerned about this? And my honest answer is, look, if we had already seen a full-blown alt season, if other coins had gone parabolic and months went by with XRP still stuck in the mud, yeah, I'd be a little concerned at that point. I really would. But we haven't even had alt season yet. And that makes me seriously wonder if people like Raoul Pal, Julian Biddle, and Tech Dev are right. They've been predicting that this entire market cycle is actually extending and getting longer, all because of the broader business cycle. It gets into some complex stuff about debt refinancing. I've actually covered it in other videos, so I won't dive down that rabbit hole right now. I'll admit it's a minority opinion, but we're talking about incredibly well-respected, thoughtful, data-driven individuals here. So if they're correct, we'll all look back on this period and say, oh yeah, of course, just look at the data. But the thing is, they're telling us about it ahead of time. They've been saying this for, I don't even know how long, at least 6 months, maybe even longer. All right, so let's talk about something people have been saying for a long time, and honestly, they're still sticking by it. The theory is that we're going to see the big cycle top in 2026, maybe even as late as the second quarter. Now, if that's the timeline we're working with, does it really seem that crazy that we're all still here, waiting for that second major leg up for XRP? I get it. Time-wise, it feels a lot longer, and you could totally say that's what's different this time. But think about it. It would also be different if XRP had already gone on its second rampage before the business cycle finished doing its thing. So either way you slice it, something was going to be a little bit off from the past. But honestly, I believe the business cycle is a much better indicator than just looking at a calendar for no reason. The rhythm of the market is way more crucial than just random time, you know? But hey, that's just what I think. I really want to hear your perspective. Okay, you guys have got to see this. Here's a post from Credible Crypto, and he says the XRP chart remains one of the most bullish higher time frame charts, just meaning big picture when he says higher time frame in this entire space. And I look forward to seeing XRP at double digits by the end of this cycle. And let me just reiterate, folks, every single perspective I'm sharing with you today came after that big liquidation event. All of them. Even after that, he still firmly believes we're going to see XRP hitting some wild numbers, more likely in the $20 range, maybe even $30 range. In fact, he actually just published a new video a few hours ago, and I immediately checked out the XRP portion. The whole video is pretty long. I think it's over an hour and a half, so I haven't had time to watch the whole thing yet, and not every coin he's charting is really relevant to me. But I did watch the XRP part. And if you want to hear why he believes what he believes, you have to go check out Credible Crypto on YouTube. He does a fantastic job articulating his points, and I don't want to just regurgitate all of that for you here. But suffice it to say, from his perspective, what happened with that liquidation on Friday did not break anything on the charts. Okay, but wait, there's more. I also saw this from chart analyst Bobby. Someone in the comments actually asked him, have we given up on the XRP targets of $8 to $13? And his answer? Just last night, Bobby came back and said, no, it just may take a little longer unless XRP can turn it around soon. So yeah, he's still holding on to that optimism, and let's be real. This is the guy who has been calling for that upwards of $13 price target for XRP this cycle for a very long time. Now, here's why that matters to me. He is one of the very few analysts I follow consistently who has absolutely nailed every single major move for XRP that has mattered this cycle. Every single one. Okay, you are not gonna believe this. I was just scrolling and saw a post from the absolute wizard chart analyst Mikey Bull Crypto. Listen to this, word for word, XRP, one of the most bullish charts right now. But hold on, it gets crazier. He's looking at this upper fib level and the target he's pointing at, nearly $22. And here's the best part. I'm trying to find a counter argument, for perspective, but it's almost impossible to find analysts who think this is heading down. I'm not kidding. It's even hard to find the usual haters, the ones with a chronic case of XRP derangement syndrome, posting anything negative. They're silent because they're terrified of getting egg on their face, which, let's be honest, has been happening to them consistently for the past year. So they've just shut their stupid face holes up about XRP for now. But don't you worry, they'll be back. The second a bear market shows up, they're going to start typing with their fat little sausage fingers all over the internet about XRP. That's the exact sound I hear. When I read their garbage, that's the whiny little voice I imagine in my head. And I bet you anything, I have high confidence. That's exactly what they sound like in person. History doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. I just saw a post from a chart analyst that said, XRP Supertrend confluence with $27. And this observation really reinforces what I was discussing earlier. If you look at the market structure, it's about to unfold in a way that is almost identical to 2017. The key difference is the timeline. It's simply stretched out. This brings us to Raoul Pal's elegant theory about refinancing. I've covered this a lot recently, so to keep it brief, he posits that the 4-year cycle has shifted to a 5-year cycle. This isn't random, it's based on a fundamental shift in how global debt is refinanced, moving from a 4-year to a 5-year average. The knock-on effect is that it extends the entire business cycle. That is precisely why this phase feels so prolonged and why we haven't hit that climactic peak. And remember, it's not just an XRP phenomenon. So yes, XRP is dragging out longer, but that's the theory in a nutshell. If they are correct, the entire market cycle is simply operating on a new, more drawn out schedule. And let's be clear, this isn't a signal that we're about to enter a bear market. Even if we see a short-term dip, it's just a sign that the timeline is a bit longer, specifically because of the factors I just laid out. But the destination is the same. You still get that incredible pop to the upside, which is why he's targeting $27 for this cycle's peak. Now, full disclosure, he did offer a word of caution, and I've seen this from other solid analysts who are bullish on XRP's bigger picture. Some of them have warned we could see a little bit lower prices first. For instance, here's another one from Chart Nerd. He's warning that we could potentially see XRP at $2.20, but right after that, he calls for new all-time highs. So when you zoom out, it's not exactly something to be worried about. You know, sometimes the quietest moves are the most powerful. I saw a post from X-Force Global that really resonated with this idea. He starts with XRP still bullish on the macro. Then he observes XRP has chosen the flat route. It's not drifting aimlessly, it's building a foundation. He goes on to say, we still have this as the final bullish option and is now within the confirmation stage, like from a timing perspective, is looking great. In other words, the period of patience is exactly what sets up the big move. And what a move he's expecting. He's charting a cycle peak for XRP anywhere from $20 to $30. So ultimately, you have to decide what narrative makes sense to you. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I never will. I can tell you right now. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I do have my leanings. I have my convictions just like every other person on this planet. Look, forget trying to be a genius. Just be smart. If you simply look for history to kind of rhyme with itself, you're already halfway to the finish line. Because history, and I keep hammering this with data point after data point, chart after chart, over and over again, it loves to rhyme. And it's not magic, it's just people. Think about it. You get a big enough group of humans, we're predictable creatures of habit and emotion. You throw us into a situation, we react. You throw us into a nearly identical situation years later, we're running the same software. You're going to get a pretty damn similar output. It's just cause and effect. So if you're going to bet against what usually happens, you're betting against human nature. You will be wrong. Not every single time, but the vast majority of the time, you're going to get burned. So I'm playing the odds. I am playing that game. I think we go higher. I don't know for sure that we will, but my conviction is that it is way, way more probable. That's why it makes so much sense to be excited right now. Even if some of the brilliant analysts I follow are correct in their thinking that you could see a little bit of pullback in the short term, the coming months are setting up to be very rewarding for those in crypto, and that includes XRP. See you in the next one.